Welcome to the kitchen. Today we're going to be making Chicken Americana. Now Chicken Americana, you may have never heard of this before, you may have, it may be something that already exists, it may not be, I didn't really Google it, but I will tell you the reason I'm calling it Chicken Americana is because it's kind of like chicken parmesan, only we're using American cheese. So we're going to be taking some chicken breasts here, and we have these 5 large chicken breasts. And we're going to be putting them in the oven. We're preheating the oven right now at 425 degrees. Once we get these in there and start baking, I'm going to start putting together the sauce. Of course, the chicken itself is going to have to be seasoned before we stick it in the oven. And I'm going to use some fairly simple seasonings with this. I'm going to use a little bit of garlic salt. I'm going to use a little bit of oregano. A little basil. And a little bit of seasoning that's somewhat unique. Charleston seasoning. And this kind of has a little bit of a flavor that Old Bay seasoning has to it, but it's not quite as potent. For our sauce, we're going to start with a simple tomato sauce. Being that it came out of a can, I would have liked to have made this from scratch. I'm going to do that in a future video. But this one is just regular tomato sauce that came out of a can. We're going to have to liven it up a little bit. I'm going to try to chop up some jalapenos and put them in there. But before I do that, I got to taste the jalapenos. Because jalapenos, they vary in heat. Sometimes they can be very mild. Sometimes they can be very hot. And I got to make sure these aren't too hot. Now, when you test the jalapenos, I've noticed that some of them seem to taste milder at the bottom than they do at the top. So I'm going to try it right up near the top with all that core, with all the seeds in it, because I've been told that this core right here and these seeds maintain some of the heat. So I'm going to try a chunk of raw jalapeno right up here with all this stuff in it, just to see if it is indeed hot. It's got a little bit of a kick to it. Probably too much of a kick for me to use in this sauce. So I'm going to have to hold off on the jalapenos, though I will fry them up, because on my dish, I'm going to put some jalapenos in the sauce. I will, however, still chop up a bell pepper and add that to the sauce. I'm also going to add a clove of garlic to the sauce, because one thing you cannot have too much of is garlic. So for these, I'm really just going to peel them and throw the whole clove in there. So this is what we're putting in the sauce. Several of these, just like this. I like to take these bell peppers and the garlic cloves and fry them in this pan just to blacken the edges before I mix them into the sauce. So being that this is just a simple tomato sauce, of course we're going to have to spice it up a little bit. And we're going to do that with a little bit of garlic salt, some Worcestershire sauce, and of course we need oregano and garlic, and a little bit of basil. Our bell peppers and garlic cloves are looking about ready to go into the sauce as well. Like I said, I just want to blacken the edges a little bit and then toss them in the sauce. At this point, the chicken has been in about 40 minutes. So I'm going to take it out, I'm going to flip it over, season the other side, give it another 20 minutes, and then we're going to test the internal temperature of it. Got the spaghetti boiling. Meanwhile, the chicken's about done. So what we're going to do with the chicken to prep it for this Chicken Americana is we're going to cut it down the middle like this. So that when I put it on top of the spaghetti, it'll kind of butterfly out a little bit. Like so. And I'll show you how that goes on the spaghetti when I put it on there. But we want to make sure that we get the cut deep, not all the way through it. Like I said, just enough to kind of butterfly it out. Okay, so we're going to take this spaghetti and we're going to spread it out in this baking dish, like so. Then we're going to take the chicken breasts and we're going to lay them like this. And we want to have enough for 4. So, you got to spread it out accordingly. What I want to do is I want to spread the sauce to make sure it covers the spaghetti as well, as much as I can. Now I'm just going to lay slices of American cheese, because like I said, you can't have Chicken Americana without American cheese. Enough to cover the whole dish. So one portion of this I want to make spicy. So on this portion, on top of the cheese, I'm going to lay the jalapeno peppers that I cooked in this pan. And this is going to be great because this is going to melt the jalapeno peppers. They're going to melt into the cheese. Or I should say the cheese is going to melt around them. And they're just going to sink down in there. And if you want the whole dish to be spicy, you'll basically do this with the whole dish. But I'm just doing it with 1/4 of the dish. Okay, let's put this in the oven. And I'm going to cook it just long enough, bake it just long enough to melt the cheese. Once the cheese starts to melt, I'm actually going to turn it over to broil, and I'm going to broil it at 500 degrees for a couple minutes to make sure that the cheese, the top of it, heats up a little more than the rest of it, because I already have the chicken baked, I already have the spaghetti cooked. I just want that cheese to melt. So I'm going to put the broiler on for a little bit. Okay, we're going to take this out. Now, it might have been left under the broiler a little bit longer than I should have, but that's okay. It just means the cheese got a little brown. But here we have it, Chicken Americana. So we're gonna cut into this first piece here. See what this looks like. Ooh, got some of the cheese falling off there. Hold on. Ooh. All right, a little messy.
Yep.
But you get to test it and see what you think.
Okay. It's good. I haven't tried the chicken yet though, but I've been eating the spaghetti off of it.
Yeah, how's the cheese?
It's crunchy.
All right. And here's the Screamin one with some jalapenos on it.